Before we get started, I'd like to give a shout out to our sponsors. First sponsor is Ruthless Paintball. If you're looking to get your team laced up this season with some great products at an affordable price, hit up Ruthless Paintball at ruthlesspaintballproducts.com and follow them on Facebook and Instagram. Our next sponsor, Quacker's Waterproofing and Basement Repair. If you live in the St. Louis area, contact Quacker's Waterproofing for all of your waterproofing and basement repair needs. You can contact them at 636-281-3535 or at www.quackerswaterproofing.com. You can also follow them on Facebook as well. And our last sponsor is PB Fanboy. PB Fanboy exists to support all things paintball. If you haven't heard yet, PB Fanboy offers a team affiliate program which is designed to not only help grow our sport, but more importantly, support teams by offering their team gear to fans all over the world and allowing those teams to make money off each sale. Contact PB Fanboy at pbfanboy.com to learn more about the team affiliate program and to purchase some badass merchandise. Also, don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel to see more podcasts and other paintball content.
Dude, we're doing it.
Go, baby.
First ever. Just gave me the biggest, like, fuck you eyes.
First. Thought you would do
Started. You guys can all hear me okay, right? Mike,
Yep.
you good?
Yep.
All right. So I could not tell you what episode this is. Mike, if you know, let me know. I think we're getting close to 10.
Yeah, it's between 0 and 3,000, like
Yeah,
somewhere in that range.
There you go. It's episode whatever. So Jake, you were actually referred to me by Andy Broad, I think, who plays on. Is Andy on ACKC? Yeah.
Yep.
He reached out to me and was like, "Hey man, you got to interview this dude because he's awesome." So
I appreciate that. Andy's a good dude. That whole team, the ACKC, they were a D5 squad last year. They won the series for MPPL, and they're all great dudes. So we enjoy having them come out. So because I'm a little bit of a drive for those guys. I'm about 2.5 hours from them for them to come practice. So they come out to the park and practice and get ready before events. So
it's awesome. Tell us about it, man. Because I don't know, and Mike, I don't know if you know either. I don't know much about the Elite X-Ball League.
Other than that, Andy's been trying to get us out to play for about 2 seasons. Yeah.
Yeah. So talk to us, give us a background on yourself, man. Talk about the league, how it got started, all of that. We know nothing about you. So.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll get started. I've been in the industry for, nearly, I had to think how old I am now. I'm 32. So I've been in the industry for 20 years, roughly. So I owned a paintball store when I was around 12 with my parents and a partner. And I was involved through the industry for about 5 years, and then kind of did that crazy dream of trying to play pro paintball and chase that. And boy, was that a money pit, as we all know. And then got out for a while, and then started a store back up in 2008, 2009. And then we opened a field up in 2010 and started doing little local 3-man, some 5-mans here and there. And then 2 years ago, I had this idea. We were hosting USXBLs, and, we kind of saw some changes we wanted to do. And USXBL kind of said, hey, we're not going to be coming back up to your area anymore. So it kind of left that door open for us to do something. And then my buddy Tim and I, we decided we wanted to start something on our own. And so we bought a scoreboard during the off season, buttons. We ran electrical to our pits, and we also ran all the conduit to run the cabling for cameras, and just kind of went from there and started pumping it out on social media and kind of see what else was going on in the area, even though MPPL is kind of a competitor, but they're really not. They're 8 hours away from us. It's, the next closest thing to us is you got RMPL out in Denver, Colorado. They run great events. We've been out there for a few of those events. James Kelly and Scott Stewart do great events out there. And, that's 6 hours away. That's the next closest event. And then you've got USXBL, which only does the Texas events now. That's anywhere from 6 to 12 hours away from us. So there's really not a lot of events going on for Oklahoma, I would say West Missouri players, Nebraska, they have to drive no matter where they want to go to play paintball. So we started to try the EXL and see how it went. Last year, we averaged about 18 teams an event between D5 and D4. This year, it's gone up just a little bit. It's like 22 teams an event. So we're growing, but also there's not a ton of teams to pull from in the area. So.
Yeah. So where exactly are you guys located?
So Central Kansas. It's right there, smack dab center of the state. It's where I-135 and I-70 cross. So it's Salina, Kansas is the biggest city that it's really close to.
Okay, Salina, I know. That's probably
yeah.
I think it's like one of the 3 cities in Kansas I know.
Well, there's not many big cities in Kansas when it comes to cities, really, honestly. So
yeah. So you're talking D4, D5, 22 teams. Is it a fair mix between the two, or is it more D5 heavy, more D4 heavy?
So last year, it was more D5. We were averaging around probably 12 to 15 teams an event. And then D4 was kind of soft to start off with. It was only like 6-7 teams, mostly 6 teams. I think we had one event where we had 7 teams. And then towards the end of the year, COVID happened. We had teams that couldn't make the last event, but we guaranteed prizes. So we still paid out the cash, whether we had 4 teams the last event for D4 X Ball, and it just kind of hit us kind of hard, but we still paid out the cash. Guys were happy with the event. And then we upped the cash for this year and kept prices the same and just said, we'll just give it a shot. So
that's awesome. And what do? You run in one field, 2 fields?
Just one field, one field. And then we do a live webcast on Twitch. I don't know if you guys have seen that or not, but we do a live webcast of the event, and then we download all the matches after the event into YouTube and break them up into individual sets for teams to go back and review. So
that's really cool. Go ahead, Mike. I know you're gonna.
No. I was just gonna say, I'm one of those guys who's kind of like a paintball junkie. Like I watch paintball like people watch Netflix, and I actually had watched a bunch of EXL matches on a YouTube channel before this season, like long before this conversation was going to happen. So as a paintball junkie, always trying to get his fix, I appreciate you post those matches because I just like watching it. So
no problem. Say it. I think a lot of players enjoy it too. Without having, to me, like you need to have players want, a live stream of the event nowadays, and whether it be Facebook Live, Twitch, if you can get it up and running, people are starting to kind of catch more on to that other leagues are. And, it's one thing I think if you can do it correctly, people really enjoy it. So like for this next event, we are adding a cable cam to go through the center of the field. And so it'll kind of go through the center of the field. When we start seeing some action go down, we'll drop it in and video some of that going on. And then we're also we're trying to add barrel cams. We're still trying to figure out a way to configure that to make that work, but also sometimes we have to go back in and edit some things, because players get a little mouthy, as you know. So, it kind of try to keep his, viewer
PG as
audience.
possible.
Yeah, exactly. So.
Yeah, no, I think it's actually a really brilliant thing to stream through Twitch. I think it's very underutilized.
Definitely.
MVPS, I know, streams through Twitch also, and just seems so stable compared to Go Sports. No offense, Go Sports, it sucks.
Yeah.
And so, why not use like a streaming service like Twitch? Like that's really smart.
We seem to have a lot less issues with Twitch. Going to Go Sports. I mean, it's a okay product, but at the same point, I mean, everybody's local. There's no reason to charge people for it, and to grow paintball and grow tournament paintball, make it free. We run sponsors of the league's ads on there. We don't get any money from them. We just do it for them to thank them for being a sponsor of the league. We'll run Playing Eclipse, GOG, DLX and Virtue and Empire. We'll run commercials for them on the webcast. And then we're starting to bring in some outside sponsors, local hotels are getting us some commercials. Also, the Henchman organization, Brad Gruitt is kind of hooking us up with some honey stinger, the little waffles, to help give away at events. And then also on top of that, the Albanese gummies as well. So we're getting a little bit of traction on that. So.
Yeah, no, I think you guys are definitely ahead of the curve. Like we play the MPPL, that's our primary series that we play, and they're just now getting into like the streaming on Facebook.
Yep.
Still very primitive, and I'm not complaining whatsoever. Mike.
Oh, yeah.
Not complaining, Mike, but I think you guys are probably way ahead of the curve on that one.
I appreciate that. We support the MPPL. Mike does a great job. He has, for the price that he offers and for what he gives out in cash prizes, I think it's a great series, and that's one reason that one of the ACKC squad goes out there. It's their second season playing out there, and they really enjoy it. So.
Yeah, and he has the added benefit of like being definitely centrally located. Like he has a lot of great teams, and it's good to see a lot more. Well, now with you guys around, more leagues in the Midwest. At one point in time it was the MSXL that was pulling everybody, and now I think it seems like we're getting into this like let's share the wealth mentality, and I really like that.
Yeah,
because it gives teams options, right? Like for instance, the Bandits have 3 lines right now. D5, D4, D3. Obviously, D3 is at the level of, okay, this might be our last season playing an MPPL, right? Because where are we going to go?
Yeah.
But we also want to give like our lower division teams options. And it's nice to know that they can drive a little further if they wanted to and play a whole other league that, up until, a couple of weeks ago, man, I barely knew who you were. So
thank you. It's one of those things, just kind of getting the name out there and letting people know, just kind of, like we said, is tell people Salina, Kansas, they go, where's that at? And I was just like, I just have to laugh at it and just say, well, it's centrally located, dead smack in the middle of Kansas, but just come give it a try. We hope you enjoy it. We try to put on a good show. And I definitely think that NXL, in my opinion, should eliminate all the lower divisions. Honestly, D2 and lower, and leave it to the regional leagues. D4, D5, D3, leave it to the regional leagues to run, and then they can kind of jump into national events at D2, just because it cost is so expensive for, you're talking $2,500 entry. Paint's cheaper, but everything else around it is expensive. So
yeah, Mike, I feel like had this conversation before with another guest that felt that same way. It might've been Steve from Gator Gang was saying, they should just scratch all divisional, and you almost have to compete to play nationals. Right. So,
yeah,
they take all the regional leagues, you rank. As you rank, you get points. Those points allow you to go play a national event. You go play World Cup based on your, stuff like that, which I agree with you, man. I mean, I think most of us who've been around a while, I think, have played at the national level, and it's like you said, it's a money pit, and it gets to the point where you just get so burned out. You're like, why do I want to do this? And then the regional leagues pop up, and it's so much more cost effective.
Oh yeah.
Well, like the hot take is, I mean, and I'll put myself out there on this. The hot take is, I don't think the NXL really cares about growing paintball the way the regional leagues seem to take on that responsibility more readily.
Yep.
And I'm not asking anybody to agree with me on this, but like the last event, I think is evidence of that. Like they just didn't care. There, it was on the internet, but like someone said like they'd never seen the whole paintball community united in hatred against one thing.
Oh yeah. Well, there was one man leading that united front there for a hot minute, and he still is in a way, Damien a little bit, but it definitely, you're right, is everybody's pretty upset about the playing conditions and, for what they spend and for what they got. I think that's the most disappointing thing for them. So.
And that's, ultimately, I think that's why I don't disagree with that idea, but like, I think that's why it will never come to pass. Like the divisional leagues pay for that whole event.
Yeah, 100%, because it was kind of funny. We brought up to Tom Cole a long time ago. It's probably 3 years ago. It's like, hey, you really should do D5 X ball. And then never did it. And you got local leagues doing D5 X ball, Mercy Rule 3, kind of like an introduction to X ball. And then all of a sudden, here comes the NXL. And they go D5 X ball this year. And it's like, oh, we see what you did.
They figured it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you can never tell them they stole it, though.
No, never.
That never happened. No. Go ahead, Mike. I had something.
No, please. Go ahead.
I lost it. Go ahead.
No, well, I was going to say, that's one of the reasons why I think Andy was excited to get you on here, is because he feels like you're really doing a lot to grow paintball. And so like, like the video, like the way you guys are webcasting, I think is so smart. Cause like, that's how you attract people. Like that's what people expect to see. They want to see the production. Like one of my complaints about the paintball industry as a whole, especially local fields, it's like, you never see advertising for it. You never see any kind of that media push for it. Like, hey, you can come do this instead of go watch a movie for roughly the same price. Why wouldn't you want to come out here and shoot your friends way better date idea too, like than the standard stuff, you know.
Yeah, it definitely, there's some field owners that do an okay job of advertising. I think some field owners also are kind of stuck in their way, of doing things of the old way, sending out mail flyers, or even email marketing in a sense is almost useless nowadays. Social media, if you're not on all the new platforms, social media is taking over completely. That if you're not advertising nowadays on those to reach the kids and the audience that you need, they're not going to be pushing mom and dad to say, hey, I want to go play paintball today. If you're not getting it out in front of them, they just don't understand what's going on. So.
Yeah, I agree with that. And you see that it's obviously in a lot of industries, but you see that a lot in paintball, to your point. I mean, it sounds like you grew up kind of in the store, in the field market. I did as well, not directly, but indirectly. And you see that, I've worked with fields where I'm like, hey, we have one locally where I've, said, hey, get on Instagram. Like Instagram will just go a long way.
Yeah.
And well, no, we're okay. And then at the end of the year, they're complaining on how much money they didn't make. And I'm like, just get on social, you'll make a little bit more money. I promise. And it's free. Like leverage it. Like how are you not leveraging social media?
Yeah.
It just doesn't make any sense. So it's really cool to hear, like when you mentioned Twitch, and I think Mike, you'll appreciate this too. Like when you mentioned something like Twitch, not only is it giving a different platform to showcase paintball, but it's also opening us up, right? Because on Twitch is what? Video game players. How many video game players play paintball? Quite a bit. And so they might inadvertently find the EXL and be like, what the hell is this? This is pretty sweet. Hey, I'm going to start watching this. And now you just gained more players without even thinking about it, right? Just by streaming our games. Yep. It's amazing. Hands down. That's what it is. It's just, I mean, I think you guys are ahead of the curve, to Mike's point. I think that, you might actually put Kansas on the map. I never in a million years thought I never thought in a million years I'd be telling Mike, let's go play an event in Kansas.
Well,
Mike,
I appreciate that. You're one of the very first few that go, I want to go play in Kansas. You're one of the very first few. I mean, we have the teams that do come out and support us, we can't thank them enough. They really gave us a chance. And, in a sense, the way I look at it too, is also they're spending their hard-earned money with us, so it's like, I want to try and give them a product that they're proud of at the same time, us being proud of as well. So.
Yeah, I want to come back and talk about the EXL a little more, but I think I want to know more about you personally, because
okay.
like Steve, I didn't know you existed until a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
So can you just tell us your paintball story? How? So you said you kind of got to a field, but how did it start for you? I'm told you might have played for Farside. Is that true?
Yep. Still play 10-man stuff for Farside. So John Rapp and I've been friends for a very long time. He used to be my rep back in the old days when it was Key Action Sports, and then when it kind of shifted over to I guess GI Sports, and then you had now Core, and then knowing a bunch of these guys even back from National Paintball Supply days, like Noe Silva, and then Ryan Gray, and Will from who now works at Valken was involved with National back in the day. So just knowing a bunch of those guys. But I started playing paintball when I was 9 years old, just kind of like everybody. My parents had some land out back. All of our friends would get together. We'd go out, with our Spider TL Pluses, Tippmann 98s, not the custom, the model 98, by the way. And so the original. So, and then we just go out and play on the weekends and have fun. And then, it's funny too. I listen to people, they go, man, paintball's so expensive. Very first paintball park I ever went to, it was $30 for a bag of paint. It was nearly $100 for a case. And I just look at that and people go, oh gosh, $55 a case, that's expensive. And I was like, you have no idea. It's actually gone down in price, not up. So, but it just played all those years, rec ball for a good majority of that. And then got started into tournaments. Ed Porman and Alex Porman. We started a 7-man team called the Warp Ninjas. It was Alex's team. He asked us to join a couple of us Kansas guys, 2 buddies of mine, and we started playing 7-man events, D3. And then after that, we jumped up to D2. We never won any events. We always took like a 3rd or 4th or 5th or something like that. We consistently made Sunday once we made the jump, but we just weren't ever right there to take first. And then we played D1, won an event or 2, and then we were really close to winning the series. We missed out on that, and then 7-man died. We switched over to X ball, and we had a little bit tougher time there, but it is just we couldn't keep up with. We could play fast, but we just also were more of that kind of sit and wait team. So, and then it just kind of hurt us in X ball. And then
I feel like a lot of teams had that struggle from 7-man to X ball, right? Because you get that methodical mentality, and then you go to play the X ball where you just have to shoot a gun at 15 balls a second.
Like there was times where like playing 7-man, it helped because we were like, hey, we can move on our own. We don't have to listen to a coach, And then a lot of us played for Greg Pauly there for a while under DSS, and before the kids became vicious, and so they started that whole camp, and we kind of migrated over there to play some X ball early on, and then we still kind of broke off and did our own thing with Warped Army. So, and then just after that, Warped Army kind of died off, and then I just kind of started focusing on running the paintball park and the business side of things. And John Rathman was like, hey, you want to play 10-man? I was like, sure. It's just like 7-man, just 3 extra bodies. Let's go. And so we went out to what was our first 10-man event? I want to say it was the Paintball Atlanta one down at Lane Wright's field during January. And we were playing really solid. And then we came out, you hate to ever see a finals where it's kind of like a stalemate and it becomes a numbers game, but that's what happened. And we ended up winning, but it was definitely a fun event. None of us good. And like all the Chicago kids, I grew up knowing all the Chicago kids because I used to travel to Chicago to play at Chicagoland Paintball when we had 7-man practices.
Yeah, I saw your profile pic. So I grew up there, man. I saw your profile pic. I'm like, how does this guy know Ben and Kyle?
Yeah. So I've known Ben, and Ben is awesome because we played X ball together there for a little bit, and then when they were on Avalanche, I was on their technically the D2 team. And then we'd always go up there and practice with them and get the crap kicked out of us, but it's the way we learned. So
yeah, I'm sure you and I have crossed paths, man. We probably just never knew each other, but yeah, that's awesome. So that's cool.
Might be shooting at each other on the same field. Wouldn't even
probably. Yeah. I mean, I lived at Chicagoland every Sunday. I'm sure we saw each other at one time.
John Rathman offered me a job there one summer, and I almost took him up on it. So he goes, you can live at the the indoor. You just have to ref groups during the week, and weekends, when we don't have practice. And I was like, that sounds like a good idea. I could play paintball 24/7. And then my wife now, my girlfriend, we started dating, and I was like, no, I don't want to go there for the summer. I should have, though. It would have been a great experience.
You should have. And that was a thing. So like, I actually was playing there when it was Country Club, and then Rathburn bought it.
Yeah.
And that was a thing. That was a historical thing about that field was, if you wanted to work there, you could live there. And like Mike, they would just like straight up like, hey, you can just sleep on the tables. You're good. Like you just got to ref. You can live here. You just got to ref games.
I mean, that's just like highlight. So like something about me is like I came up differently than you guys. Like I didn't come up like within like the paintball areas. I grew up in like rural Missouri. So like I didn't have access to like things like we were just talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But what that tells me is like the softness of current players, because like what you guys are talking about is like the actual grind. Like no, we're gonna sleep on some boards this way I can play paintball.
Yep.
Versus like I don't know, that turf isn't so nice, I guess. We're gonna play at the other field.
Yeah.
Go ahead, man. Yeah.
I was gonna say it's definitely when I talk to players now and they're like, driving 3.5, 4 hours for practice. I go, I should drive 10 hours one way, like every other weekend for a solid 3 years, like 20 hours round trip, getting home at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, going to bed, then opening the store up the next day. Like it's just, they don't understand. So
what about paintball do you find so beautiful? So like this thing about like paintball players to me that kind of unites us all is like this game just like bites into you and it doesn't let it go. Like I often tell my team, like I hate how much I love paintball. Like I can't let it go. Like objectively, I should just let it go, but I don't want to let it go. So what is that for you? Like what's like your passion?
My passion, so it's shifted over the years, but like my biggest thing that I used to love more than anything in the world was standing on the box. You know, you get that clock ticking down, you know, or whether it be, you know, when 7-man they did the silent 10-second countdown, you know, you'd be counting it down your head. You know, you get down to that last 5 seconds, you start feeling, you know, your gut start going, and you start getting the adrenaline going, and then that horn blows. And knowing also that so playing on a team to where like you didn't have any superstars necessarily, but knowing that as long as you guys all did your part, you know, you could beat anybody on any given day. You know, it's just about working together as a team. Now my focus and what brings me joy is watching kids, you know, play paintball, you know, have fun, and then go, Mom, Dad, I want to come out every weekend and play paintball now. You know, it's just like that to me is like, hey, we're growing paintball at that point. You know, as long as kids are having fun, you know, and want to come back and play, that is actually more my passion now more than anything. So
that's amazing.
So
yeah, it's kind of like to Mike's point. It's interesting. You had us. We were the grinders, right? We were the ones that would sleep at fields, sleep in cars, drive the 10 hours. And then you got super soft where people are like, I'm about 2.5 hours of practice. Screw that. where now I feel like, and we actually see it in our younger guys. Like we have one right now, and I'm going to call him out. Matt is 18 years old. And I can tell that guy right now, hey, tomorrow night we're driving 8 hours to Kansas. He'll be like, okay. Right. And so like you're starting to get like these younger guys that like want to do the grind. They might still be a little soft, but now they're starting to see like what it takes. And it's kind of cool because you see ourselves in it. I'm like, yeah, that's what we were doing. You know, Friday night we would leave and come back Sunday night. Our whole weekend shot. Our girlfriends hate us. We don't want to go to work Monday, but we did it for paintball.
Yep. That expression, you know, when Oliver Lang used to wear that T-shirt all the time and said "paintball ruined my life," you know, was literally a good expression.
It's a legit expression, that's for sure.
Yep.
He's rolling in headband money right now. Like
yeah, no
he's
kidding.
He's probably just. I imagine he's just rolling naked in his money piles at this point.
You know, whoever would have thought that just like would have kicked off the way it was. You know, even like the JT ProFlex market right now. I just look at that and go, I remember how many items I was like, I couldn't even give it away. Like people are like, oh, I don't want that, you know, and now I'm like, oh gosh, what'd I do with all that stuff?
Yeah. I think I'm one of the only ones on the Bandits right now that's not wearing a ProFlex. I just realized that last time we were practicing. Like, what
are
happening?
You wearing?
I actually love the Bunker King goggles. I love them. Yeah,
they're comfortable.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan. I have a hard time breathing out of my nose, and so I felt like, I don't know, they work well. So huge fan.
They're growing on our team. Like I think it's 2 or 3 people now rocking those Bunker King masks. So you know, one thing I like to talk about, like it does definitely, you come across as like someone who is definitely passionate, genuinely passionate about growing paintball. Right. Again, that's one of the reasons like Andy wanted us to talk to you and like get your message out there. And so let's get into some meat here. Like, let's talk about like the last NXL event in relationship to like growing paintball. So as a field owner, and you can say as much as you want, or a league owner, excuse me, you can say as much as you want about this, but like, what's your take on the last event, the field, and just like Tom Cole's response if you read it?
So I did read it, and you know, I saw the video that was put out. I don't remember who it was by, and then, you know, friends with Damien and Ryan on Facebook, and just kind of see him start, you know, going at it with Tom again. You know, it definitely, I mean, it was sad, you know, that I don't know the situation, you know, and that's a hard thing too, is that you know, the original email that went out showed a different location than what was actually listed the day of or the couple of days before the event. You know, I don't know if anybody noticed that or not, but it was so the original email that went out was a different location than what was listed like a couple of days before the event. And so I don't know if they lost the original land deal or if something came up, you know, but if you look on Google Earth, the original location looked beautiful, you know. And so when they came out with the second one, they were like, maybe that's what they got stuck with. You know, maybe they got dealt a bad hand, who knows? But it definitely was not good for the players. And also it was definitely a bad reputation for the NXL in a sense too. Like, it's sad because they are the national league. They are the highest platform of paintball. Do I think there's good people within the industry and within that company or the NXL? Yes. Do I think they mean well? Yeah. Do I think they fall short a lot? Yeah. I think Chicago is one of the greatest events out there. But, I think the grounds that they play on there is perfect. And I think it's all well laid out event. But I think that's 1 out of 4 events. Vegas wasn't bad. I mean, there's a few little quirks here and there, but I don't know. Definitely the last event was a real eye opener. And Tom, at that point, it's kind of damn if you do and damn if you don't. If he responds, people are going to be like, oh, well, he responded. Kudos to him. And some people are going to be like, do something about it. You could have done something about it. Maybe he couldn't have, or maybe he just didn't want to. Nobody's really going to know except for Tom, and that's the hard thing about it. But I don't know. It definitely was disappointing to see the grounds there. So
what do you think the fallout should be, just in your opinion? I mean, we're just talking, we're 3 divisional guys talking about, paintball.
Yeah.
I mean, because if you watch the event, I mean, Keith Brown broke his thumb. Dynasty lost, I think, 4 guys along the way, and they weren't the only team. Those are just ones that stick out of my mind the most. What do you think the fallout should be for the NXL? Or, what's the cautionary tale for league owners, I guess, is another way to say that.
Be as transparent as possible. That was the biggest thing. If they would have just said, hey, 2 weeks before the event, just say, hey, guys, we lost the original ground due to whatever, and we have to move it to here. Grass has been planted, but it's not coming in. They could have made a call on, but the hardest thing, if they would have said, hey, we're going to move the event back a month, or we're going to try and find a different location, they might have lost all those teams and lost that event completely. And coming off of a year of COVID where you only had essentially 2 events, it would have been a huge hit to them. So I think there was just being transparent to players in the beginning probably would have been the best thing. That's about the best thing you can do. And that's all people want you to do is be transparent and just tell them the truth. So,
yeah, I want to touch on that really quick because I have a professional life outside of paintball, and I can tell you I work for a corporation in healthcare and 20,000 employees deep, and we're always having to have that conversation of, hey, with our clients, one of our core values as a company is transparency.
Mm-hmm.
So it's funny how that translate anywhere, because you're right. Hey, venue fell through. We're sorry, guys. It's a secondary venue, might have some grounds issues. You can back out now. We'll be okay with it. Give those options. People would be less pissed off and more likely to come back than if you did what you did.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
And so you said you had experience the USXBL.
Yeah.
Maybe some other leagues as well. I have a little bit of experience with USXBL, and I kind of have formed an opinion about them. They don't seem to really be doing all the great things that they should be doing to grow the sport. So I don't want to bash on the USXBL or anything. But so I want to actually speak positively about what kind of things are you doing with the EXL? What are you guys doing with entry and payouts and promote your league? Let's hear all the best things about the EXL right now.
So the biggest thing, in comparison to other leagues, so USXBL used, they did cheaper entry but higher price paint. We did a little bit higher entry but lower price paint. Because it seems like most players, after watching, people play MSXL, and play, even WCPPL, Mike Kinman, they charge $1,000 for entry for some divisions, but teams pay it. But the paint is ultra cheap out there. So in a way, the price per cost per person is close to about the same every event, no matter what way you break it down. But it's just trying to find that happy medium. I still feel we're trying to fine tune that happy medium, because it seems everybody pays the entries up front, and then they don't really worry about that portion. But what they care about is how much paint are they shooting and how much money are they spending on paint. So at the end of it, it's hey, we just won $2,000. Do we cover our paint bill? Do we go home with some money? As one thing. So AC Kansas City last year in D4X ball, they won 2 of the 3 events we had, and they went home. The second event that they won, they profited essentially $400 from the event. And then the third event, since we had teams drop out due to COVID, but we still gave out the prize money, they profited $1,000, so you can win money. I'm not going to say that we're better than anybody else, but we do offer things, like the Twitch, the live stream. The other things that we do too is we try to be as professional as possible, give consistent reffing, which every league tries to do that. But the other thing too is just kind of interact more with the players, kind of truly be involved with them. Because since we are players ourselves, just try and think of all the things that we want other leagues to do and just do them ourselves. So entries, I mean, are pretty reasonable. So like a D5 X ball is $550. First place prize is $2,000 cash. D4 X ball is $650. And then it's $2,500 cash for first. We're going to talk to teams at the end of the season. We get a lot of feedback from all the teams that play. We're like, do you want entry to go up a little bit? Everybody says, oh, we need more money. Give us more money. Well, you got to either increase entry, figure something out, meet a happy medium. But everybody also wants paint cheaper too. So, and paint's really not terrible. It's $45 and $50 a case. We do custom blend for the 45, and then we do a 4-star evil or whatever's available at the time for that $50 range. The other thing that we do that a lot of other leagues don't do, so we do what's called a franchise. So if you already know you're going to play all 4 events in advance, you can choose to pay those 4 events in advance up front. And then with that, you get $5 off a case per event. And then you also get free water every event. I know it's nothing really crazy, but you get a free case of water every event for the franchise team. And then on top of that, you also get a team feather flag. We've had a little bit of trouble getting the feather flags. We're still working on those, but that's one thing that you do get. And then also with that too is if you have artwork, we put it up on our banners and things like that.
So I happen to know somebody who makes feather flags as well. Just saying.
Oh, you do?
just hit me up, man. We'll talk.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I already have a design. I just need somebody to make them.
Well, I happen to know a guy.
There we go.
If you didn't know, Steve is the I don't know what your official title is, but you're like the head sales guy. Like you're the guy. You're the guy everyone talks to for Ruthless Paintball. We're a Ruthless team, so
awesome.
I would definitely recommend it. Like I guess it's fair to say I'm biased because like we're with Ruthless, but we've enjoyed them. I know their stable of teams is growing, and that's not for no reason. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So
hit me up, man.
Yeah,
I will.
No,
yeah, I will be shooting you a message right as soon as we get done with this.
All right.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Okay, so so it sounds like you guys are like, at least on par, definitely with like some of the better leagues I've seen as far as like entry and payout. Do you guys have like I know the USXBL or no MSXL does the swords. MPPL we get like the wrestling style belts. Yeah.
Yep.
Do you guys have something like that?
So one of the guys that plays on AC Kansas City, he works at a sign shop, and so try to help support our local guys, that do stuff. And so he made us these custom wood plaques and then with metal over the front of it to give it that 3D look. And so we kind of use a slogan this year, our trophies ain't plastic, it's a big, gigantic wood plaque. And then it's got this 3D look to it, made out of metal. We give that out for first, second, and third, and then Colin, his name. We're working with him for the Series Prize Championship trophy this year to be a gigantic trophy that has the EXL logo, and then we want to have a trophy that each team's going to take home, and then we're also going to have a trophy that stays in house that we're going to put nameplates on the front of it and say 2020, series winners, 2021, just kind of keep a trophy that people can go and see the names on it from moving years forward. So.
Like the Stanley Cup, but
exactly
not travel.
Yes, and so like we're going to start.
Players, you're not giving.
Thank you. Got the back.
right. No, I heard a dog. I'm keeping it.
Yeah. I would call them back towards the end of the next season. I'd be like, "Hey, you got that trophy?" Like, no, I sold it. Like, what? What'd you do that for?
Yeah, well, I guarantee every paintball area has that one guy who goes through about 14 guns a season because they're always.
Yep.
That guy's actually on our team. Like, I don't think he's had a gun for more than about a month and a half. Like, here's a new Geo4, now it's an Angel, and now it's this other thing. And he had a Quest. I think he sold the Quest already.
Yeah.
Some of those
older
guys talking about you.
Some of those guys, they go through guns about as much as they change underwear.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. So talk to us about the paintball scene in your area of Kansas. Because I'm not from Kansas, so so I don't. So so what's the scene out there? Like, what teams are local? What are the powerhouse teams? Like, just tell us about Kansas paintball.
Okay, so Kansas paintball has actually really died off quite a bit, to be honest. After about 2009, 2010, the area took a huge hit in teams. Everybody just kind of left. It seemed like there used to be a series back in the day called MPS. They used to draw, gosh, it seemed like a ton of teams. There've been like 40, 50 teams an event, and they were doing well, 3-man, 5-man, no X ball, but just like race to 2 stuff. And then it just seems like all those teams kind of fell off, people life or kids just not interested in playing paintball anymore. So local teams now, we have a team that plays out of my field, out of Elite Sports, called SK Elite. They have a D5 and D4 line. They're about one of the only X ball teams like truly in Kansas. There's Destiny Kansas out of Foxhole Paintball. And all these teams are either going to be centrally located or they're going to be out towards the east, towards Kansas City area. Kansas City, they have there's the Missouri All-Stars. They play D2 X ball, and then you've got the ACKC organization. They come out and they practice at 3 different fields. They practice at Kick and Paintball Park when Tim has practices down there. Then they practice at Elite Sports when we have a major practice. And then they also play at High Performance, which is kind of more of a local field. And then some of them venture out to Jager's Paintball up in that area. They try to support all the fields in the area. Down by Wichita, there's a few 3-man teams that are starting to form up, but no real X-ball teams. There's a few that played a 5-man X-ball last year, but they kind of took a step back and are going to do some 3-man stuff this year. They just kind of decided they weren't ready for X-ball, but good teams. There's Strike Force ICT out of Wichita, and then there's a couple teams out of the Edge Paintball Ventures down by Wichita as well. So not a ton of teams. I think mainly Kansas teams is probably a grand total like 4, maybe 5 at most. So
where do you pull from then?
Biggest poll is definitely Nebraska. We've got 3 teams that come down from Nebraska. They are 4 teams actually. There's Ignition has a D5 line, and then there's also Jam's Factory team, which is kind of like an old mixture of some old DSO players and Recognition. I think they used to play the MPPL back in the day and won the series. And then there's also Warped Army. They had 2 lines, and then DSO has 2 lines as well. And then we are starting to pull some Oklahoma teams. Oklahoma's kind of seeing the same thing that Kansas is. I mean, there are some teams, you got the Tulsa Saints down there, Senate, they've got 2 lines. And then you've got the Bricktown Bucks. They've got 2 lines. So they're starting to make their way up here to play the EXL. And, they all travel around. Because they're about 3 hours away from us to play EXL, and they're 3 hours away for playing USXBL. So they kind of give a little bit of love to everybody, which is good. So, and then we don't pull many St. Louis teams. It's just far. We hear that a lot. It's kind of a little bit further drive. And for a little bit lesser of a distance, there's MPPL, which is closer for a lot of teams, in that area. So, but we've also been drawing the Henchman organization. They come all the way down from Michigan to come down and play EXL. So we appreciate that. Brad brings a group of guys down. They're going to try and get a D4 line down for this next event. And then we also have Gresham Paintball. Jimmy Hazard, his whole crew, they put in 2 to 3 lines into every EXL. They're all the way from Amarillo, Texas.
Wow.
So clear out there. So
yeah. So it's first of all, we need to talk to some St. Louis teams to get out there. I can see that happening just because we're always looking for something different. Talk about, you mentioned 2008 and 9, because I remember that whole area of the country having deep roots, right?
Yeah.
Warped, because Warped Sports is from that area, because Ed Portman's from that area.
Yep.
And so there was a lot of activity back in the mid 2000s, and then, like, to your point, it just like died off. So it's kind of cool to kind of see that resurgence. But who other than, like, I know Warped Army, obviously, but what other big teams were coming out of that area at that time?
So out of that, during that time, there was you had like Lost Generation, and then of course you had DSS, and then Vicious Organization, which they they had the Vicious series going on back in the day. That was kind of like the go-to series to play. They did it in the summertime, so that way they could kind of capitalize on the best weather possible. So, gosh, I remember Vicious series. There used to be 20 teams for, one day of, I think it was a D5 X ball or D4 X ball. And then they had a upper division that drew like 16 teams. I mean, they ran great events, and of course it was reffed by Vicious as well. So that kind of helped out as well, that, having a pro team ref the events, it kind of drew some people in. And then, just kind of slowly but surely, like after like 2009, 2010, it kind of seemed like everybody just kind of died off. I remember going to a Vicious event in 2012, and for a one-day event, I think it was like 9 or 10 teams, just so many teams just kind of just died off just due to either the tank in the economy or they just really didn't want to play anymore. So.
Yeah, it's interesting, but it's kind of like, again, 3 weeks ago, I found out about you. So it's kind of cool that Kansas is coming back. That area is coming back.
Yeah. We're starting to see a little bit of growth back in it, especially with the 3-man. So like we themed all of our 3-mans this year after wrestling events. I don't know if you've seen that or not. So, so we did, we did the spring Sting. We used Sting from wrestling for the flyer, and we gave for part of the thing that we did is we did baseball bats, with engraving on it and stuff, for the first place prize. And then we also gave away 60-inch TVs, something a little bit different, for $100 entry. And then this event have 32 teams registered. We're only going to be able to take 30 just to make sure we can get them all done in a day. But we've got 32 teams registered, and it's going to be a good one. So, and we haven't quite figured out exactly what we're going to do for the first place prize, but we found some hats and some sunglasses, to give away, so that way they can wear those, because this theme is Macho Man Randy Savage. So, definitely we had some fun with it. And then the other thing we're trying to do is, so for 3-man, we also put a pit liaison on each pit. So we have pit canopies that are 40 by 20, so teams can kind of go up there, watch, and then they can kind of stage in there a little bit, and then we do the get teams ready to jump on the field. We have guys that are from the D3 line of AC Kansas City. They'll be there in the pits kind of helping teams be like, hey guys, you're getting ready to go on the field, just making sure that you don't have a team show up, they only got 2 players to the box, they're trying to figure out what's going on, because the goal is to grow it for them, want them to have fun and want to come back and play paintball. So you can't be that hard ass and be like, oh, you didn't get to the box on time, this and that. It helps to have somebody out there explaining to them what's going on, what they need to do, maybe even talk a little bit of strategy with them, be like, hey, what are you guys doing this point, kind of express some game plans to them or what they're seeing on the field. And something else we did this year too, to kind of bring it back to more of a roots paintball, is we did blind layouts,
Nice.
So we released a layout one day before the event, and then that way nobody practiced on it for 2 weekends in a row, and then kind of get to see a little bit of creativity coming out of people.
Yeah. I love the idea of like helping. I don't think I've heard that yet. I have not heard anybody running a league talk about that. And I'm an advocate for that. I mean, you see these D5 teams. We even have a couple teams that we've crossed paths with that are some older guys that, they want to hang, right? Paintball's on the rise again. And so, there's a local team that's been practicing with us, and they're a lower division, but they're older guys and they want to hang an X ball. But they're one of those teams where, 3 guys are showing up to the box where we're ready with 5. And it's really cool to hear that, like, as a league, you have more experienced guys like helping push them along, because back when those guys were playing in their prime, dude, it took 20 minutes to get a game started. Right. And so like now everything's super quick. And so, I don't know. I just admire that. I like the fact that you have other teams assisting the lower divisions to get them going and understand it. That's cool.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That was kind of one of those things we even yelled at our first 2 pit liaisons of the first 3-man, because both teams walked out with 2 players each, and I stuck a head out the window. I said, what are you doing? Why are they stepping on with 2 players each? We stopped the clock, and we're like, help them. They go, oh, and so we had to switch out pit liaison guys. We're like, yeah, you can go ref now. You didn't do your job correctly. So we brought 2 other guys out, and then
now you get to stand in the sun.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, you didn't do your job, so now I got to put someone there who's going to do it, and then it ran smooth the rest of the day. But just also to make sure that those guys have a good time, is what's going to bring them back to play paintball. Even for the X Ball events, like if we see a team on the roster, we start going through rosters, I'm double checking guys' rankings and things like that. And I go, that team's pretty green. We need to have someone in their pit with them their first match. It's like the Kansas City Chaos guys, with one of their first matches, they're like, they were supposed to concede a point, and I'm standing there pit and I'm like, hey guys, you should concede. And they go, what's that? And I go, here, I went over there, showed them what they needed to do. And then there's other points. They're like, they were up on points, but they were going to concede it. And I go, why would you concede it? And they go, well, because we want to save time. I go, you're up on points. You should never concede that. Like, don't ever concede it, because they could have a dirty hang, then the point's going to go to you, so it's like, just let it play out. There's no rush. So, especially with D5 X Ball, it's only an 8-minute game time or a mercy rule 3. So only so much paintball can be played in that portion of time. So,
yeah, no, I think that hits at the heart of like this idea or the theme of growing paintball. Because I try to do the same things, like I always print out extra layouts, and I always see teams and PPL, especially like D5, but some D4 teams too, that are kind of rolling without a coach. And I give a lot of ayouts away, or like my scout sheets away. Like, hey, like I kind of think it's like every experienced paintballer's responsibility to like take on that role, like take on that mental role, or like, hey, I know this. Here's what you should do. You don't take my advice, don't want it, but there are so many teams up there, like Steve said, even at the MPPL, that just have no. I mean, it's such a barrier to getting into X Ball that no one really talks about, like the procedures and the specific things that you kind of have to do to get ready for that first game.
Yep.
Like you see teams up there, like, you haven't started potting yet. You need to pot right now. Like, here, let me help you. Here's how you actually do that really efficiently. You know?
That's it. Like, it's the only way it's going to grow. I can't say that enough, is just making those players almost feel welcomed, even like you said, printing out layout sheets. I mean, that's really cool. You don't have to give them all your game plans. You could even help them out a little bit, but at the same point, but just a little bit goes a long way with, newer players, and jumping from even 3-man to X Ball, we tried to do 5-man race to 2. It just doesn't get the draw. It seems like more teams would rather play that entry level, X Ball. And so it's just helping them learn and understand how X Ball works, is definitely a huge thing.
I mean, yeah. Like we've been known, like our team's even been known, we lend out pod runners sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
You have teams that never even thought about it, never even processed, like, oh, how do we get our pods back? And they're like, well, you can't just carry them off the field because the refs are gonna flag you for that. But
I had a team. Go ahead.
Oh no, please.
I was gonna say, I even had a team come up to me. It was first event EXL X Ball this year. He comes up to me, he goes, I need to buy more pods. And I go, what happened to all your pods? He goes, we lost the pod war. And I go, all right. I was like, I said, you got like a young kid with you guys or anything? They're like, yeah. And I was like, well, you can roster him, put him on staff, and have him go run pods, just have him fill out a waiver for the field, put a mask on. And so they're like, really? And I was like, yeah, definitely. Just wait for the horn and then run out. So and then go start grabbing pods, as many pods as possible. So just don't try to steal pods from somebody else. They might get a little angry about that. So
or at least don't get caught. I mean, that's the other unspoken game of paintball. I mean, I'm not saying we have a lot of pods marked with other things, but
hey,
no.
That's something that we used to love doing back in the day, is stealing another team's pods.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I was gonna say that, it's awesome for me and you guys too, being older players. Back in the day, man, it was no holds bar, right? Like, growing up at Badlands, a new team shows up, you don't know who they are, they're not getting to the box. Like, that's just how it was back then. Like, it was cool. Kids were on each box. We played all day. New team of 5 shows up. You're not playing. We're like, now it doesn't happen. Now, you try to do that now, and the other teams are going to stick up with the team. The same thing at events, right? You see that team struggling, you help them. It's cool. It shows the growth of the sport. Sure, we have to grow a lot more, but I think it shows the cohesion that the players need and the organizers need to help grow it, right? It's really cool. It's cool to see.
It's definitely made leaps and bounds, even back from when we used to play. So I remember playing, you know, it was like 2002, 2003, you know, it's just, you know, hate to say it, you know, it's hard for those older players to want to take you under their wing and kind of show you the ropes. Like you kind of had to prove yourself to them that you were worthy of it.
Oh, yeah.
Take your ass kickings and then just
Mike
move
Bruno
on.
Bruno would be like, you can be under my wing after I shoot you 8 times in the head. Then we're good.
Exactly. Or I can fight you first, whichever you want to do.
Hey, you pick one. Eight shots to the head, or I'll beat your ass in the parking lot. Pick one.
Yep.
So yeah, Mike, I think we're almost at an hour. Do you want to do? You have more questions? You want to do the lightning round? What do you want to do?
Yeah, well, first, Jake, is there anything else that we haven't talked about that you wanna talk about? Anything that we didn't bring up that you want to bring up?
No, not really. I mean, we went over a lot of the highlights of the league, and I hope we can help to see the league grow in the next couple of years. Like I said, it doesn't have to be monumental growth, but just one or two extra teams a year. It's just seeing it grow little by little. And thank you to all the teams that do support us now. We greatly appreciate it, and so couldn't do it without you.
What are we talking? 4 events, 5 events a year?
So we do 4 events. We tried, with NXL doing 6 events this year, it kind of screwed with our schedule a lot. We had 2 events that fell on the first 2 weekends of MPPL, which made it hard for other teams to come play. And then, but it will be 4 events. And then, we're kind of going to nail our schedule down. We try to work with other local leagues to try not to overlap too much, so that way, hopefully teams that do want to go in and play other leagues, they definitely can. So, but 4 events, and then with the championship being the 4th event. So,
and then obviously you're on PB leagues. Is it just Elite X-Ball League? Or
yeah. So it's EXL, or it has a little hyphen in there and it says Elite X-Ball League. So we have all 4 events listed, and then we also have the 3-mans listed on there, and they're listed as actual 3-mans. So.
Awesome. And when's your next event? Sorry, Mike. When's the next one?
No, that was my question, actually.
Okay. So the next 3-man is July 25th. And then 2 weeks after that, August 7th and 8th is the Shocker Open, which was an X-Ball event. So we'll do D5 Saturday and then D4 Sunday.
All right.
Awesome. That's awesome.
And that's going to be a hole for a lot of teams too, because there's usually a big break between between our 3 and 4. It's like a month and a half, 2 month break.
Yeah.
So, all right. Also, before I forget, if you shoot us a bunch of links, we can put that in the video description. So
we'll do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Anything you want, man. Like sponsors, you want to drop them, we'll just plug them into the comments.
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
I'll definitely do that.
Because and part of the reason I wasn't part of the original group, but part of the reason I was excited to be part of this project was because we had the same mentality. This is about promoting paintball for the majority of paintball players.
Yeah.
So absolutely send us everything and we'll hook you up.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So the traditional closing of the show now is a lightning round. So we have some questions. I'm not going to tell you who gave me some information to ask you, but I got some information from outside sources. Some I'm generating as we talk. So it's a lightning round, but it's it's not really a lightning round,
Gotcha.
And also, I don't know if we told you, but also you noticed that I was drinking the whole time during the show. Yeah. That's also a part of it. So if you have anything to drink, we'll close with a drink too.
Oh, okay.
All right. Okay, ready to do this?
Yep.
All right, lightning round. First question. So Tom Cole in the NXL. Should we cut him some slack, or should we go ahead and hold him to the fire?
Hold him to the fire.
Okay. Question 2. Will D3 ACKC be playing Event 3 MPPL with the Black Squad?
Negative.
Okay.
Negative. I want to. The guys want to, but it's trying to get enough guys to go. So.
All right. So I'm told you can handle about 1 beer before you go over the top. Is that true or is that false?
Oh no, that's definitely true. I am a lightweight when it comes to drinking beer. It definitely is true. All the guys make fun of me for it, so I honor it. I own it. Yeah. So it's definitely true. So
yeah. Okay. So you go way back. So do you prefer paintball how it was or paintball where it is right now?
Giving the way the game's played today, I almost prefer paintball back then. So.
Okay. What's the number one way, if you're king for a day, emperor of the universe, what's the number one way to grow paintball?
Youth. Honestly, just getting younger generations to play paintball. And then also showing them that there is a tournament side of things, but I definitely seeing more youth leagues come up. You've got soccer leagues, football leagues, you've got all these leagues. Really don't see too many paintball leagues, like for youth per se, that do, if you just say, hey, just sign your kid up, we'll put them on a team, random draw, or if you got two buddies, come play, and so definitely youth is the way to grow paintball, to the masses at least. So
Okay. Whose side are you on, Damian Ryan or Crystal Soya?
I honestly did not read too much of that a little bit. I'll be honest, they both were sponsored players. They had a lot handed to them. So they probably have good talking points, but I'm not gonna side with either one of them at this point. So
that's fair. You're right in the smack dab middle of the country. Like,
yeah,
you can ride that fence.
Yeah.
All right. Number one dream gun you wish you always had, or do you have a gun that you let go and you're like, damn, I wish I wouldn't?
As a gun that I let go is my Cobalt DM4. So that died. Just I don't know. The DM4 knocked it out of the park for me, and they just it was amazing. And then also that Cobalt color being that purplish color. I mean, it was amazing. So
it was.
All right. Let's close with this. Give us like a 30 to 90-second commercial. Get teams to the EXL.
All right, guys. Free live stream Twitch, every event also. And then on top of that, good prizes given out every event. You can actually walk away with money if you take first or second. And paint's reasonable. Entry fees are reasonable. Come give us a try. You won't be disappointed.
All right. There it is.
That's awesome, man. That's cool. Well, I appreciate it, dude. Be in touch. Honestly, I was actually snapping John Moran, who owns Ruthless, as we were talking. He said we could get you those feather flags, just so you know.
Awesome. I'll definitely hit you up.
Yeah, so hit me up. We would love to somehow sponsor you guys too if you were interested. I'll talk to him about that too. See what we can do. But yeah, dude, it's a pleasure. This is exactly why D4 for Life and PB Fanboy exist. Honestly, it's all to support divisional teams, players, organizers, etc. So like, you are the reason why we're doing this. So
I appreciate it. I when you hit me up and Andy goes, hey, I told the guys that they should interview, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. I was like, and you messaged me, I was like, definitely, man, let's do it. So I think it's awesome, and I can't wait to see how it grows. So
yeah, appreciate it.